It says something about the scale of abuse in football when Kevin Carroll was a child, that what he says and what happened to him is devastating, but also not surprising. He was 11 when it started. The man who raped him was his football coach, Barry Bonnell.
Not a day goes by when that man doesn't pop into my head. Something will trigger a thought of that man and what he'd done to myself and many, many others. It's really sad to think you go through life and that was the first kind of, it is sickening, absolutely sickening.
This is the first time Kevin Carroll has wanted his name and what happened to him to be heard publicly. It comes on the same day a 710-page report sets out the scale of child abuse within football over a 35-year period. It says 240 suspected abusers have been identified and 692 abuse survivors. It concludes that by the mid-90s, the FA knew about abuse in the game and for another 5 years was too slow to protect children, amounting to significant failings for which there's no excuse. But before 1995, the report says there's no evidence that the FA knew there was a serious or systemic problem of child sexual abuse within the game. That period before 1995 is when Barry Bonnell, Frank Roper and several other abusers were working in the game. Frank Roper had convictions dating back to the 60s for indecently assaulting children, but the report says there was no mechanism to pass the information on. So although some clubs had heard rumours, the report says there's no evidence the FA knew or that the FA should have known. Paul Stewart played for Tottenham and Man City, but started out at Blackpool, where I met him today. He was abused by Frank Roper as a child and now works with football clubs on child protection.
I don't want, not just football, I don't want society in general to get complacent about safeguarding and child protection, because these people are still out there. There is no cure for them. And as hard as we're working to prevent them accessing our children, they will be working twice as hard to access our children.
Using the phrase, a dark day for the game, the FA's chief exec had this to say.
We have to hold our hands up and apologise for the mistakes of the past, make sure we don't repeat them, but that's not to say that football is not in a safe environment today. It is.
Some of those abused are questioning the findings of today's report, which says there's no evidence of a cover-up, no evidence abusers were working together, even when they knew each other. Several clubs have released statements to apologise. Crewe Alexandra, where Barry Bonnell coached young players, say they need more time to respond. You still haven't actually had the thing that you want out of all of this, have you?
An apology. An apology. And just the apology to me, I'll take, but what I want more than anything out of all this, I'm still lucky to have both my parents with us. And the effect it's had on my parents. Yeah, I just want an apology to them. It wasn't just my dream of being a footballer. It was also my dad's dream. And that man took that. That man, that club, they took that from me and my parents. So yeah, for that, I'll accept your apology, but you need to be apologising to a lot more people than just the victims and the survivors of this, because the ripple effect it's had is just unbelievable.
Well, earlier I spoke to Ian Ackley, who was abused by Barry Bonnell between 1979 and 1983. I asked him what his response was to the review today.
I'm glad it's here. I welcome it, and I'm now keen to see what comes from it.
What would you have liked the review to recommend that it didn't?
I would have liked it to have recommended external scrutiny, an agency that puts in checks and challenges that's truly independent of the FA. It says there are institutional failings. Now, that would normally fall on a pain of sanction. That there would be a consequence to that, right? Yeah, so what is that consequence? And if it's self-imposing, then to what degree does it go to give us confidence that the FA are going to seriously, invest in this?
And, well, talking of redress, would you like the FA to be talking now about compensation?
I can't see how the FA would consider compensating anybody.
When I asked you just now about compensation, you kind of laughed like it was a ridiculous idea. Why did you have that reaction?
Legally speaking, they are not accountable as far as compensation is concerned. It's almost impossible or pointless trying to pursue any civil claim against the FA because of where they sit within our legal structure as far as liability is concerned.
But don't they have a moral obligation, if not a legal one?
Well, yeah, I would argue they do. And so, again, do their corporate sponsors. These are the people that make the most out of our national sport, and so surely there should be some redress for the stuff that's not so good that happens in that sport, and it should be recognised as such. I think now's the time to do that. I
just wonder, with all the passing of time, what toll, holding on to all of this for so long, what toll has this taken on you?
I find that hard to put into words, to be honest with you. Since November 2016, it's been the most difficult time of my life. I've lost my job. I've got into serious debt. I've tried and campaigned to try and bring this in out of the shadows and into the light. And yeah, there's been significant collateral damage along the way. I'm in regular therapy, and it helps me it's not helped me just get better or attempt to get better and keep doing so and try and understand some of the impacts on me in life, but also to try and stay well if I can get well. And I think all survivors deserve that. And if I can help others learn and grow and prevent this from happening in the future, then that's the legacy I'd like to leave.
Ian Ackley, thank you so much for your bravery, speaking out and continuing to speak about this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
And if you've been affected by these issues, you can find a list of organisations which offer help and information on channel4.com/support.